Hello, hello, hello. Good evening and welcome once again to Saffron Voiceover Talk Show. It's amazing to see you all back again. It's nice to have you all back again. My name is Giz Ojiako and I am the Director for Programs for SaffronSACAP. So without much ado, I'd like to introduce you to my colleagues whilst welcoming those of you who are coming on for the first time. And those of you who are joining us from Facebook, we also say welcome to you. Marcia, if you'd like to unmute yourself, please.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us again tonight. Thank you to our usual Facebook family. Thank you to our Zoom family. You're always with us and we really appreciate you. As we continue Financial February, you're in for a treat again tonight, so stay with us. My name is Marcia Eliza and I'm the Director for Youth Engagement and Intervention.
Thank you so much, Marcia. It's beautiful to have you on. And also I would like us to ask Yemi to unveil herself, please.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. It's an awesome day. It's a beautiful day. I don't know if it's been snowing around yours. It has been around ours. We're just also grateful to be here this evening. Welcome all our guests, our family members, both on Facebook and here on Zoom and everywhere else. Actually, we do have a following on YouTube at the moment. So, wow. You know what, Marcy, I'm sorry, I wanted to say that you really sounded like an air hostess. It sounded so smooth. So, please have an awesome evening. We have a lot of questions that have come in from last week's sessions, and I'm excited because some of them actually pertain to my own personal thoughts. So I'm looking forward to getting some answers tonight, and hope you are too. Have a lovely evening. God bless.
Thank you so much for that, Emily. Yes, so as you heard, it's going to be a follow-on week 2 of our financial February. And as you know, this is an open forum. We do have 2 special guests, but I'm going to ask Marcia to do a recap and she will also introduce the guests. So there you go, Marcia, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Giz. Well, last week we started our financial month with 2 special guests. We had Primrose and we had Sam. Last week, Primrose spoke to us about family insurance, and Primrose is it's a personal and business insurance specialist. So last week she explained to us about family insurance and the importance of having family insurance. But what's really poignant and what she told us about last week is having multiple streams of income. Many of us, we just rely on the 9 to 5 or the one little job. But she was empowered us to go out there and look for other ways of bringing income in, be creative, use our time, use our technology. And those are the things that she imparted to us last week. We also had Sam who spoke to us about CCMP, clear, concise, mental picture. And I think most people took that away. Some people even started their CCMP. He told us about looking at, it's like doing an MOT of our finances and our personal self. Doing an MOT, looking at where we are, knowing where we want to go, having our goals and working towards those goals. He also spoke to us about trust, and lots of us didn't quite understand what it was about. But you leave in something that stays within the family. That was really an education for us. And also about the various types of insurance, especially critical illness cover. One thing that I took away is about covering children. Many of us don't really think of having critical illness cover for children. And, he told us more about that last week. Now he's going to continue tonight and we're really excited. We really want to know more because he has a lot to offer and a lot to learn. And we've dropped his details in the chat and also on Facebook, we've dropped his details. So please feel free to contact him if you need further information. So over to you, Sam.
Thank you so much, Marcia. Thank you for that welcome, Giz. That was absolutely brilliant. I'm not sure, there's so much pressure now. Nah, that's all right. Is it possible for me to share my screen, please? Have you given me the So thank you for that. I was actually going to do a short recap because I know everybody's going to be different who was here. Some people will be here, it will be their first time. So I will do a short recap just to cover some of the things that I did discuss last week. So we looked at the problems today. So these are some of the problems today. For me, one of the biggest ones is that a third of the nation are 2 paychecks away from bankruptcy. If they don't get paid for 2 months, they're done. And for me, that is just not good enough. And it's probably even worse now because of this COVID pandemic that we have. So really, why is that the case? I think one of the challenges is that a lot of people do not get any education. You know, Robert Kiyosaki said, we go to school to learn how to work for money. We don't learn how to get money working for us. So if I was to ask you, who's responsible for your personal economy? A lot of people rely on the banks or the government for their pensions, but it's you. It's all about you. So you need to look out for yourself. And so the first step, which Marcia did so well to explain, the first step to being financially free, financially independent, to get to where you want to be, is to have a CCMP. And this is more than just having a goal. This is having a clear, concise mental picture of what you want. And that involves using all your 5 senses. Can you smell it? Can you touch it? Can you see it? Is it written out? Is it smart? That means it's specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. Have you got your goals down on a whiteboard or on a vision board that you can see it every single day? Do you read it every single day? You know, do you have affirmations to back up that CCMP? If you want to get anywhere in life, you might get there eventually, but if you want to be there quicker, you need a CCMP. Now, one of the things I did last week was I set everybody a CCMP. And the first CCMP I set out was to think about where you are right now. So 3 columns. The first one says debt, the first one says earnings, and the third one says savings. How much debt do you have right now? How much are you earning right now? And then how much do you have in savings right now? And the CCMP is to project yourself 12 months from now and to write down, remember, you're responsible. Write down how much debt you want to have 12 months from now. How much do you want to be earning? And how much are you going to have in savings? Remember, it's your call. So can I just see if anybody did it? If you can put something in the chat box, if you actually did it. I'll just give you a few seconds to find the chat box and to put it in. Did anybody do this? I know Giz said she did. Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Yemi. Very fantastic. I mean, again, one of the things I ask people to do is to write it out on an A4 piece of paper and put it up on the wall. Put it up in your cupboard, put it up by your kitchen, put it up in the bathroom, so that when you're seeing it, you can actually call it into being. Now, that is your CCMP. I've got one more CCMP by the end of today, which I'm going to give you again, and I will be asking you about it next week. So, to become financially independent, you need 5 steps. Now, for me, this is like building a house. If you're going to build a house, you need to start with a solid foundation. The first step is your risk. What could go wrong? And we mentioned about building your house on rock, not on sand, so that when the rains and the challenges come, your house will remain standing. So the risk, and then your debts, your expenses, your assets, and then your income. They need to be in that order. One of the challenges I come across is that people get them in the wrong order. You need to build them along to that. So risk management is the first thing. And this comes down to which is more valuable. We ask your car, your home, or your family. And I'm so happy that a lot of people last week said it was their family that was more important. And yes, you know, your family's biggest asset is actually you. You know, you are your family's biggest asset. A lot of people protect the eggs. They protect their car, they protect the house, but themselves, they don't protect their estate. And we looked at what is an estate and building an estate. And an estate really is everything that you have. There's the securities part of it, which is like your cash reserves, your assets, your income. And then you've got this responsibility that you have as well. Whether you have a partner or children or a mortgage or any of those things like that. So you have those two things. That is all part of your estate. And what you really need for security is the risk management. When you talk about risk management, is having protection to cover everything that you have. And we looked at how life really works, and the reason people don't have protection is because they just don't have the knowledge. And this takes you through the knowledge, the different types of protection that we have. So that's just a summary of what we looked at last week. And we looked at how life really works. On the left-hand side, this is a timeline. On the left-hand side, you've got your today. You're young, you've got children, you've got a mortgage. If you were to lose your income, it'd be awful. But you don't have a lot of money. So you buy money to protect you. And as you get older, you might not need protection anymore, but you need to think about your investments, okay? So buy low-cost term insurance and invest the difference. But we'll talk about investments and all those things another time. So we've looked at the first step, which is risk management. That was last week. This week, we're looking at debt, okay? Put a plan in place and get rid of your debt. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. Now, the first thing I want to talk about really is financial intelligence. What is financial intelligence? Please feel free to unmute yourself. I'm happy for anybody to tell me what they think financial intelligence is. I like interaction. So for those of you on, I guess it will be the ones on, what's this called now?
Facebook?
Well, first, I can't talk to the guys on Facebook. What's this app called again? This one we're using here. Zoom, yeah. What is financial intelligence? Anybody? You can write it in the chat box, or you can say it if you want. Anybody, what do you think financial intelligence is?
I'd say it's knowing how knowing what you spend, knowing what you earn, or understanding from what you earn and then what you spend and what you have left after these, and see if you can survive on that.
Fantastic. That's awesome. Brilliant. Thank you. Anybody else? If you do, just write it in the chat box. But some of you might remember this on the left-hand side, whether back in the day when people got paid before there were cards and things like that, you put your money in different envelopes. And you know the one for the rent, you know the one for the bills, you know the one for the food, and it's all in different envelopes. And what you're trying to do really is to have your money in different areas so that it covers different things. What generally happens now to a lot of us is a lot of people are in debt. A lot of people are in debt. And it's even worse now since last year, okay? And one of the things I like to talk to people about really is understanding the idea behind the credit card. Now, one of the greatest marketing ploys of all time was taking the word debt and renaming it credit, which is a positive word. Okay, now a lot of people go to the bank, and I made this mistake. When I first came to the UK, I took a lot of credit cards. I took loans. I did not understand what that word credit meant. If you're taking notes, make a note of that where it says the secret history of the credit card. If you go on YouTube, type in the secret history of the credit card. It's a video, it's about 58 minutes long, and it shows you that the credit card was actually planned. They planned it to keep people in debt. Okay, So, there's this thing that says, don't let people fool you with empty words. And what they've done is they've fooled all of us by saying you can take a credit card. Now, if you look up here and it says, what if they tell you to go and take a go broke quick card? How would you feel about that? Okay, because a lot of us, when we take credit cards, that's really what we're doing. We're getting a debt card. Okay, so think about it that way. When they say credit card, it's not credit. The money is not yours. Most of the time, you have to pay it back. Actually, all of the time, you have to pay it back. And something I'm going to teach you in the further lesson is what we call the rule of 72. That actually shows you how the credit card is working against you. But one of the things to look at is this. You need to have an emergency fund. How many of you have an emergency fund? This is an amount of money that you can use in case of an emergency. If your car breaks down, if the window breaks in, if the tire goes off, if something happens, do you have an emergency fund? Now, we say between 3 to 6 months of your expenses, 3 to 6 months should be in an emergency account. Now, most people, their emergency fund is in their credit card. That does not work. That is not the way forward, because remember, the money is not yours. The first step to building wealth is keeping debt away from your door. And if you have an emergency fund, you will never, ever get into debt. Well, bad debt anyway. Okay, so do you have an emergency fund? If you don't, guess what? That's something you can start putting in place to start working towards. And I'll teach you how you can do that in the next slide. This is something we call the 10-10-10-70 strategy. And what I say to people is this: you must pay yourself first. A lot of us go to work. I spoke to a gentleman last week. He starts work at 5 a.m. and he finishes about 10 p.m. He works in a factory, 5 till 10 p.m. He works hard for his money. There's a song in there somewhere for those of you who are old school. He works hard for the money. Do, 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 do. You might know, you might not know it. For those of you who know it, well done. You work hard for your money. You need to get paid first. Okay. Now, the way we teach you to do that is what generally happens is this: people get paid, and before they can touch the money, the rent or the mortgage comes out, the gas comes out, electricity comes out, water comes out, everything else comes out, so that by the time they can even touch the till of their salary, it's too far. They can't touch it. Okay. So one of the things we talk about, I'm just going to look in the chat box. Yeah, Donna Summer, well done, quality. So something we teach people is what we call the 10-10-10-70 strategy. And what that basically says is this: the first 10% of your income, we say give away. If you're listening to this call, if you're on this call right now, you're more blessed than majority of people in the world. I sincerely believe if you give, you will get a lot more back. The more you sow, the more you will reap. So the first 10% of any income that you earn, give it away. Now, people sometimes ask, should I give the net or the gross? The response to that question is, do you want to be blessed on the net or the gross? I'll leave you to respond to that. Okay, but the first 10% of your income, give away. If you're earning £200 a week right now, give away 10%. Because then if God can trust you, and like I've said last week, I'm a Christian, I don't apologize. If God can bless you on 200 quid, he'll be able to bless you on 200,000. You get me? So the first 10%, we say give away, bless other people. There's so many charities in the UK that need money. You don't have, I mean, some people go to church, you can give it as tithe, but I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about charities and organizations that need your money. Now, the next 10%, We say save, but save it for an emergency fund. Okay, save it in an account whereby you can't touch it. It's there for you to use when you need it. And again, we'll talk about a word that starts with D that most people don't like later on. Okay, but invest, the first 10% put away to save for an emergency fund. And then the last 10% invest in your future. Put that 10% away for the future, okay? Because remember, you know, I'm 50 this year. I remember when I was 30, I remember my 30th birthday party. It was the best party in Leeds back in those days. I'm now 50, 20 years has gone so quickly. Before I know it, I know 65, 70 will be here, okay? So you need to start doing it now and don't wait until you're 60. That's what a lot of people do. Now, what needs to happen is the remaining 70%, let them fight over it, okay? Your water, your gas, your bills, let the 70% cover your expenses. So that's the 10, 10, 10, 70 strategy. How many of you can say you're doing that now? If you're not doing it, guess what? That's what you need to start thinking about. Now, what if you can't do 10, 10, 10, 70? I see people every single day who are living on minus. You know, when we do their plan, their net income is minus several £100. So guess what? That's your next CCMP. Your next CCMP is to do 10, 10, 10, 70. Okay, it might take you 6 months to do it. It might take you 3 years to do it. It might take you 5 years. But I want to encourage you to start where you are right now. It's something that you need to work towards, okay? Focus on what you can do right now, okay? So on there, it says 55585. If that's too difficult, why not do 11197? The consistency is the key, okay? So what can you do right now? You don't have to do 10, 10, 10, but you can get into the habit of doing something where you are, okay? Again, remember, it's about just doing it regularly. And once you get into the flow, I promise you, you will see an increase. You will see it getting better. So what if I'm living on 110? Again, I mentioned that I saw a gentleman a few years ago. His take-home pay was £1,500. His overdraft was £4,000. So whenever he got paid, guess what? He still owed the bank about £2,000 every single month. Okay, now for me, when I spoke to this guy, he was in a very bad place. Now, I mentioned last week, one of the things I am passionate about is mental health. I'm a mental health first aid trainer, and I teach about suicide under that subject. And did you know that majority of people that take their own lives, there's about 17 a day that take their own lives. Majority of those, there's 2 reasons. One is relationship. The other one is finance. But behind the relationship most of the time is the financial challenges. Okay, so we need to get into our money. We need to treat and understand how money works so that we can get it working for us. So for that person, this is what you need to do. You need to reduce your outgoings, which sometimes is really difficult, and you need to increase your income. Those are the things you need to do. If you're living, if your net worth or your net income is minus, you need to reduce your outgoing and increase your income. Now, how do you do that? That's the D word I was talking about earlier. Okay, discipline. Okay, you need to mute somebody. Thank you. Discipline is important. You know, for me, a lot of people, one of the biggest challenges, I was talking to a good friend of mine earlier today, and she was saying that when she goes out with, I think she went shopping with her daughter, and she was going to buy something, and the daughter was like, well, we don't really need that. And she's like, I want it. And they had a discussion about it. And again, it's about needs versus wants. And what I say to people is this: if your TV broke and you had £1,000, and there's two TVs, there's one for 1,000 and there's one for 300. They do exactly the same thing. Why not buy the £300 one, invest the £700? Imagine how much that will be worth 5 years from now. And that's really what it's all about: immediate gratification versus future goals. So I used to be a group scout leader. I had a scout group, and I used to have parents, they used to contribute £1 a week. And sometimes they won't have £1 to pay. However, when Christmas comes, you see the children, they're wearing Air Jordans and they're wearing really expensive things. And you think, to be honest with you, you do have that money, or you don't, you go and spend it on things that you don't need to spend it on. So think about your future goals versus immediate gratification. We all want it now. But sometimes that really isn't the answer. So let me encourage you, discipline. When you go to the shops to buy stuff, do you take a list? Or do you just go there and pick all sorts of random things? Very important to think about that. What do you spend on luxuries? Sky Movies. I saw somebody who has Sky Movies. Actually, there was the family I saw a while ago. This was before Sky and Virgin were together. But they had Sky TV upstairs. They had Virgin downstairs, spending over £200 a month because BET was missing from one of them. But there was no food in the fridge.
Hey.
Okay, 200 quid on Sky Movies. And when it comes to Sky Movies, how many movies do they actually show? Really? And how many of them do you watch? So it's really important to, call them and say, you know what, I'm leaving. What can you do for me? I do that quite regularly. Okay, and then reduce whatever they're charging you. Eating out, we can't do that much right now, so we can leave that. But buying lunch, the amount of money you could save by making extra the night before and taking it into work. Again, you're thinking about your future goals. Okay, there's so many apps you can get on your phone that you can download budget planners and use different budget planners to actually manage your finances. Something that picture there, that spreadsheet you can see there, is what we call the budget fat find. And what that does, it finds fat in your budget. If you're interested in getting that, I'm happy to send it to you so that you can see it and you can use it. It finds areas where you can reduce your finances. So it's called the budget fat find. It's an Excel spreadsheet. I can share that with you. Just put your details down. My information is in the chat box. You can use that and then I'll send it to you. Just send me your details. So this is something we call the debt trap, okay? And this debt trap, basically, I'm going to move this so I can read it. The debt trap, what it says here is this. Let's imagine you owe £3,000 on a credit card at 20.9% APR. Every month, you pay off the minimum of 2%. You don't make any new purchases, so you've just got £3,000 to pay off. How long will it take you to pay off the credit card? Who thinks it's 19, 29, or 90? What do you all think? Let me see some people write some stuff in the chat box. A, B, or C? All right. Okay, I'll show you. I'll tell you. Did you think it was 90 years? How much would you have paid in interest charges? Again, £23,000. How much does that person owe? They owe £3,000. This is an example of a lady I saw. I'm not sure if I shared about her last week, but she was the deaconess in the church. And she had a credit card debt. We were sitting down going through her finances, and she had a £5,000 credit card debt. When I put that through the system said she wasn't going to pay it off for 100 years.
Was hesitant. They do come round. What about reaching out?
She only owed £5,000. It was going to take her 100 years to pay it off. And do you know why? She was paying £90 every month, and she was really happy she could pay £90 every month. However, out of that 90, 70 was interest. So only 20 quid was going towards the capital. She's going to die paying £5,000 back. Again, it's all about knowledge, and she didn't have a clue. She was just paying it, and she'd been paying it for years. When I showed her on the statement, she was in shock. So again, it's understanding how money works and getting your money work for you. Something else we teach is this. If you look at this, it says revolving debt versus fixed debt. And it's important to understand the difference. So these are two people. They both owe £17,000. Purple finishes paying theirs off in 4 years. The red bit pays it off in about 20 odd years. It's exactly the same amount. What is the difference? And this is the difference here. A fixed debt is when you borrow a set amount of money over a prearranged term with a set end date. So you set it and they say, okay, you can pay this off in 48 months. You can pay it off in 36 months. You can pay it off in 5 years. It's set. Now, not a lot of people do that. What majority of people do is this, revolving debt. And this is when you borrow money and interest is applied periodically with no fixed end date. Now, like I said to you last week, I can relate to all of this, mainly because I had a debt that was there forever and ever. You know, Argos card was, was awful because I had this small amount of money that I owed for many years, and I just kept on paying the minimum every single month. That is what majority of people do. We pay the minimum every month and it does not work out. So let me encourage you, what kind of debt do you have? Is it fixed? Is it revolving? What are you going to do after this call? It's really important that you think about it and you take it up to the next level. Now, we've looked at risk management. We've looked at debt management. Because of the time, guys, I'm happy to go into the expenses management as well. You want me to do that?
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Okay, fantastic. So like I said, you've got to take it in steps, okay? Now, when it comes to expenses, the golden rule of credit is pay your debt off in the shortest possible time. A lot of people just keep on paying the minimum. And the first step to becoming debt-free is spend less than you earn. Now, this seems really simple to say, and it seems logical, but I've been doing this for 10 years, and I sit in front of families, and it's from everywhere. So white, black, Indian, Chinese, I've got all sorts of clients from across the world, and it's the same thing. A lot of people spend more than they actually bring in. So when you give them their plan, it's got a minus in front of their net worth. What's yours like? Okay. The question we ask, and we're all conditioned, when you see adverts on TV, we're all conditioned to ask certain questions. And some of those questions is this: what's the interest rate? A lot of people ask, what's the interest rate? What's the interest rate? And how much do I pay monthly? So this lady I spoke to you, the deaconess, she asked, how much do I pay monthly? They told her, oh, just pay £90, and she could afford it. Not realizing that 70 of that 90 was interest. The question you should be asking, and a lot of people don't ask this question, is this: how long will it take to pay it off? There's a classic example of people going to shops where you buy a TV and they say, just pay £8 a week. And a lot of people are happy to do that, not realizing that that keeps them in. They buy the TV for 300 quid. However, they're going to be paying £700 at the end of it. Yeah. The question you should be asking is, how long will it take to pay it off? And how much will I pay in total? Those are the questions you should always ask. Forget the interest rate. Those two questions will shock you enough to stop you from, will make you think about the interest rates. And I'm going to come to that in a minute. So let's talk about some principles. Okay, we're going to look at some principles. Like I mentioned earlier, you've got to understand the rules of the game you're playing. I play, in our family, we play a lot of board games. We've got a cupboard full of board games. And the first thing we do is we grab the rules and we read the rules and we disagree, we argue. It's all part of the fun. But we know the rules before we play the game. If they understand the rules and you don't, guess what's going to happen? You will lose the money game. If you don't understand the money game, guess what? You will lose. And it's really important to understand that the money game, let me just say this question here, and I will answer questions at the end. Okay, I'll answer questions at the end. Understanding the money game, one of them is about bank accounts, okay? Everybody's got a bank account. And I come across a lot of families, they've put their money in their bank account. Now, let me show you why bank accounts, what they do. So this is an example of somebody who's got a bank account. They've got £10,000 in their bank, okay? So £10,000 and they're getting 4% in just a regular bank account. Now you can tell this is an old presentation, okay? But you won't be getting 4% right now. But let's say you've got 4%, the interest the bank is giving you. You earn £400 in the year. The bank will take the interest, which means your money over that 1 year has grown to 10,320, which is good. That's absolutely fantastic. So now let's transfer that 10,000 below. Remember that inflation has been running at about 3.5% over so many years. If you convert that 3.5% into money, you've got £361. Guess what that means? That means your £10,000 is actually valued at £9,958. So see what's happened there? You've actually had a net loss of £41. So when you put your money in the bank, for me, I used to think about, our parents or their parents used to say, old people put their money under the pillow. Sometimes your money is probably safer under the pillow than in the bank because you're getting minus every time you stick your money in the bank. Okay, so when you have a chunk of money, think about doing something smart with it. Not just stick it in a bank account forever and ever and ever. Okay, so that's looking at bank accounts, but I'm going to teach you something which is an old banking principle, and it's called the Rule of 72. If you've never heard of the Rule of 72, please think about this every time you think about money. Okay, the Rule of 72, Einstein actually said, is the ninth wonder of the world. The Rule of 72 shows you how long it takes for your money to double at a given interest rate. Okay, so let's say, for example, you've got £10,000 and you go to your bank, you say, I want to save this £10,000. I'm not going to add, I'm not going to take out, just save it for me. And the bank manager says, okay, because we like you, we'll give you 3% interest. All you need to do is divide 72 by the interest the bank has given you, and that's 24. That means your money will grow slowly, and after 24 years, you can go and collect £20,000. It's doubled. If you go in and say, no, that's too small, I want more, and you leave it in for another 24 years, you will actually get £40,000 after 48 years. I hope you're not happy about that. That's 40,000 in 48 years. That's rubbish. I would be, I hope I'm still here, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I'll be 100. Just not worth it. Okay. Now, let's say you can do something different with your money. Let's say Marcia, you talk to Marcia, and Marcia says, you know, why don't you go and buy property? Why don't you go and invest your money? And now you can double your interest and you can get 6%. What happens to your £10,000 now is divide 72 by 6, which is 12. This means your money will double now every 12 years. Okay, so as you can see there, after 48 years, you would actually get £160,000. That's a lot better, isn't it? Would you agree? Yeah, I can see some heads nodding. So that is a lot better. Now, when you give your bank £10,000, you know, most people do the bank one. When you give your bank £10,000, what do they do with your money? Any guesses? Any suggestions?
They invest with it. They use it to make money.
Fantastic. They invest your money to make money for themselves. You hear me?
Yes, they invest it.
Okay, fantastic.
Your money never sits in the bank. It's going around doing some work.
Nice one.
Bank.
So thank you. So you've given them £10,000. I'm in the queue behind you. I say, can I borrow £10,000? I want to buy a car. I want a credit card. It's a store card, whatever it may be. They now give me your £10,000 through their credit card at 12%. Now, for those of you, you know, the average interest that the banks are lending money now is about 18%. For those of you who have cards like Capital One and stuff like that, they're charging 36%, 35%. Some of the payday loans are charging 1,000%. I challenge you, next time you see those adverts on TV, when they say come and borrow money, pause it and look at the interest they tell you at the bottom of the screen. They're 2,000%. So let me just say, the bank, you've given them 10K. I now want to borrow £10,000. They give me your £10,000 at 12%. Your money is now working for the bank. 72 divided by 12 is 6. So your money is doubling for the banks every 6 years. Can you guess how much they would earn after 48 years? I'm not going to ask for suggestions. It's
actually working a lot faster than that.
Yes, it definitely is. But as you can see on here,
they give it to traders. They double the money in much shorter time. I mean, it depends on where exactly they invested. Sorry, I took my microphone off mute earlier.
That's fine. That's fine. That's
they
fine.
Make it several times over.
Yeah, but just for an example, you know, we're using 12% in this example. As you can see, they would earn £2.56 million. They give you £40,000 and maybe a nice pen. Say thank you very much. When they've just earned £2.52 million. It's ridiculous. Which is why you need to ask the question, how long is it going to take me to pay it off? Understanding the rule of 72 is about time. The longer you give them your money, the more money they're earning off you. So it's really important to understand this rule of 72, getting your money working for you and not for the banks. Okay, so I'm going to stop there just because of time, and I know I'm not the only one. I think the other sister is going to speak as well. So we've looked at your risk management, we've looked at debt management, and we've looked at your expense management. Next week, we'll look at asset management and we'll cover income management maybe the week after. I'm happy to open it up for questions. I know there was a question in the chat box. Let me just have a quick look at that. Okay, thank you. So the question says, I believe in giving 10% away like you suggested, but where in any financial rules did he say give 10% away? It doesn't. There's no rule anywhere that says you have to give 10% away. It's just, we teach 10, 10, 10, 70. I always say to people, when I had a job, and this is not to brag, but when I had a job, I did the bare minimum that I could. Now that I run my own business, I give more than 10%. You know, a lot of people give a lot more than that, but that is just a guide that we've given. It's no rule anywhere. I hope that helps. I hope that answers the question. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Any other questions from anybody? I'm just going to put my information in the chat box. And I've got like a survey as well that people can complete. You know, if anybody can complete that for me, that would be great. Just for me to get some guidance on what I'm doing.
I have a question, Sam. Somebody asked and said, right, okay, so you were talking about debt management. Okay.
Okay.
So obviously with the loss of jobs, COVID, even pre-COVID, there was, you know, we did see a lot of the retail, especially the retail industry, there were quite a few job losses. So based on the fact that a lot of people are now in debt, how then would these people embark on a CCMP or do the the new 1070, you know, because obviously it's we need an income to be able to do any of this. So for such people, where would you advise that they start from? How would you help those kind of people?
I think the first thing you need to think of is a plan. What do you need to do? Where do you want to be? So you know you've got financial challenges, you know things are tough, but you also know what you want. How will you know you're there when you get there? The best way to do that is to have a plan. It's like a sat nav. Yeah. When you're going somewhere, I put the postcode LS27PU and it takes me there. Mm-hmm. And for yourself, the plan is the first place to start. Do you have a plan of where you want to be? Do you have a plan of how much you want to earn? Mm-hmm. Do you have a plan that shows all your debt on a piece of paper and how to get out of that debt? When you have a plan and you understand where you need to be, and then you can start putting things in place. You know, I mentioned last week about a strategy. After you've got the CCMP, what strategy are you going to use to implement that CCMP? So there's business opportunities out there. There's lots of business opportunities out there. In my organization, we're offering people an opportunity to come and work with us. That's not why I'm here. But there are loads of businesses out there that you can tap into. Businesses you can work from home. You know, we talk about if you're running just the one job or two jobs or two businesses, you need to have the average millionaire, and I said this last week, the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. Streams of income. How many do you have? Very important. You cannot just rely on your job. And if you have 3 jobs, for me, that still doesn't work because a job is still a job. You need to start running. You need to start, you know, Tony Gaskin said, build your own dreams or somebody will employ you to build theirs. Are you building your dreams or building somebody else's dreams? Because whether you like it or not, you're building somebody's dream. If you have a job, you're building somebody's dream. So might as well try and build yours. So for me, what worked for me was I had a full-time job as a civil servant and I was working that 9 to 5. And then in the evenings, I was building my business empire. And one of the things I had to do back then was when people asked me what I did as a career, I always spoke about my business first. And then I said, oh yeah, I'm a civil servant as well. But that's just by the by. because my business was always going to be the thing that was going to help me achieve my goals and dreams. And now the goals and dreams that I set out, my CCMP 10 years ago was to be debt-free, to have my own business, and to give my children a good education. All those three, I'm thankful I've been able to do. But in addition to that, it's being able to travel and be able to do many things that I really, well, you can't travel now, but, before, I could do so many things that I never saw myself doing 10 years ago. But it starts with a plan. It starts with a plan. There's a question there from somebody, what of giving the 10% to who's in need? And again, I get this all the time, especially we Africans. We say, okay, instead of giving my 10% to charities, there's people that need money in Nigeria, in Ghana. You know what? It's your money. I'm not going to tell you what to do with it. My thing is just bless other people. Bless others. When you bless others, it will come back. I believe that. I sincerely believe that. When you sow, you will reap. And what you sow, you reap. That's my belief. You don't have to agree to that. If you have people in need that you're giving your money to, why not? It's your money. I hope that answers the question. Yes. I'm happy for a follow-up to that. Sure. Thank you. Anybody else? Any other questions? Giz, I'm going to leave it to you too.
Okay, so please feel free. Sam will be leaving us shortly. So if there are any questions, you can drop it in the chat if you don't want to speak out, but please don't personalize it if you are speaking out. Just generalize the questions and Sam would happily answer whatever it is that you are looking to gain further knowledge. This is a very interactive session. And it is, we do want to stress, we're not giving you financial advice, but it's all in just information and for you to make an informed choice, okay? So please feel free to ask any questions. From Sandra, who is better to give charity or individual? I think that's for you.
Yeah, you know what? That's a great question. And yeah, like I said, honestly, and I'm going to be a bit brutal here. What's your conscience telling you? Do you feel bad that you're not giving to charities? I give to both. So I support charities and I also support other things. I support my church. It's your money, okay? There are hundreds and thousands of charities in the UK. There's people living literally 10 minutes from you now, sleeping on the streets. There's people living 5 minutes, 5 doors down from you, going to the food banks in your city, in the UK. So for me, it's not about, it's your conscience. You do what you want with your money, but recognize that you've got to be able to, it's your choice. I don't know how to answer. I don't know if anybody else wants to jump in. I don't know how to answer that question. You can give to charities and you can give to people, as long as you're blessing others. And for me, that's the key. You bless other people because you're blessed. Yeah, why not? That's where you're from. If that's where you're from, I give. I'm not, I'm not going to go through it, but you can give to anybody. There are people in Nigeria that probably need it more than here, But yeah, if you support people in Nigeria, my sister, go for it. I think it's all good. As long as you're blessing others, that's the important thing. And for me, that's the criteria. You're blessing others, because when you bless, you will receive.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Sam. And yes, you rightly said it. It's a personal choice. So whoever you are giving to, it's not that is not what we're looking at, or that is not what is being watched. It's the thoughts,
it's the attitude,
and the attitude and the action that counts. So whether you give it to somebody in Nigeria or somebody in Poland or Iceland, America, it's the giving, the attitude. So that's what we focus on. Okay. So thank you so much for that question. And
trying to explain that for me, I have a little foundation in Nigeria where I give out money to those that are trading without interest.
Yeah.
So they return it maybe a year or 2 years. Because I have a store in Nigeria where there is this LAPO operating. So when I saw the sufferings of some women borrowing money with interest and being insulted if they cannot pay, so I try to open my own foundation with my own money that I give to them without interest, and they return it in a year or in 2 years.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Sandra. So that's basically the same thing that we are saying. You have found a source and you're giving to that source, and it's very noble. And yes, good luck with that. And we thank you for sharing that knowledge with us. If there's anybody else who has any further questions before Sam takes his leave, if not, you can also write them down, and Sam will definitely be back next week. So if there's anything you're trying to, you can't remember this week, please feel free to write them down, and we will always get them to Sam back. Okay. So you'd like to stop the share now so that we can get the screen back. If that's okay.
Can I just say, I've got like a survey for people to just answer, if possible, please. Just drop a few words in there. It's about 2-3 minutes.
Awesome.
I've put it in the chat box as well, please.
Okay, thank you so much. So that survey is in the chat, guys. So please feel free to do that. And yes, so we will be looking to, let me see, our second guest has not yet arrived, but it's not a problem. I know that the information that has been shared today, you know, guys, discipline was the one of the ones that almost knocked me off my chair tonight because, you know, that is one of the major breakthroughs when you're talking of your finances. It's the ability to have money in the bank, see money sitting in the bank, and not want to go out and buy a pair of, you know, Louis Vuitton shoes because you definitely don't, you know, need them. That's a want. So yes, thank you so much for those tidbits, Sam. You know, you said needs versus our wants, immediate goals versus future goals. The debt you talked about, the fixed and the revolving. These are things that, you know, we need to think about as individuals. What I think for me, what I loved most of all was a 10-10-10-70. But what I loved about that is that you don't have to stick to the 10-10-10-70. If I get it right, Sam, and just clarification, because people might be seeing that 10-10-10 and think, wow, that's a bit too much for me at this point in time. So you're saying that we can also break that down, maybe half it, is that correct?
Yes, I mean, a lot of people majority of people will find it difficult to do 10-10-10. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So I say start where you are right now.
Brilliant.
And the key is consistency and regularity. 1-1-1.
Awesome.
But what you find is as you do it, you find yourself increasing it slowly. Okay, but it's just important to do what you can. Yeah.
Brilliant. At this stage, I want to ask everybody if they can unmute, and I'm sure there must be something you have picked. If you can just say to us what you picked from this talk from Sam. There's a lot of information that went out, but something that resonates with you personally or with you for somebody else. Please unmute yourselves, guys. And if you raise your hand so that we don't have people crossing at each other whilst we're trying to put something out. Yes, Sandra.
I really appreciate Mr. Sam because I've never studied finance. There's some of his ways of saying 10-10-70. 10-10-10-70. I've always practiced it because I learned it from my mother that always says every time put something apart. In a year, it will become big. And it can help you to actualize something big. So hearing this 10-10-10-70, I really appreciate you because it draws me back to what I have learned when I was very small, when my mother would give us a cup with a hole on top. Telling us
yes, the coin box. Coin box, yeah.
By December, we'll use it to buy something for ourselves. Thank you very much.
Yes. You're welcome. And it's amazing how a lot of us don't pass that. Our parents did it and their parents did it, but we've not really passed it on to our children. And again, they want it right now, instant. And that's one of the biggest problems we have. So yeah, thank you, Miss Sandra. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandra, for that. And if there's anybody else, I've seen Eberichukwu is on, Ayan the First, Ahmed Ad Taiwo, Voice of Hope Foundation, Antiama is in the house. Good evening, Antiama. It's nice to have you on again tonight. Auntie Vicky, good evening. It's nice to have you on.
Good evening. Good evening. Great listening to you all.
Thank you. Good evening, Antiama. So please, even our Facebook family, feel free. Sam's got a couple of minutes with us. So, right, Bookie typed the KOLO, the Kolo. I'm not really sure what that means. Have I?
That's the coin box that I used to put money in.
Okay, sorry.
That's what it is, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Bookie. Thank you so much, Bookie. Sorry for that. Okay, so yeah, I think we all have different names for it, but yeah, and that's where you're putting money away each week or each month. And guys, there's another thing. Sam, can I ask you, what do you think about, right, they call it either a thrift, partners, when you do that contribution. Talk to us. And, I've seen quite a lot of those coming up. I mean, I'm in one or two myself, and honestly, some of them are amazing. But if there's any information or any advice you can give about thrifts, because I'm getting a lot of people asking me how they can join the benefits. If you can just quickly, I know you've got to dash off. But.
Yeah, I mean, it's a saving plan. It's the power of saving. And I mentioned earlier about when you put your money in the bank, you're not really getting anything in the short-term bank. So that thrift or that, what's it called? Susu. Some people call it Susu.
Susu.
Yes, it's a good idea because you're keeping your cash in your hands and you're passing it around. And it's a way to save. I've got a couple and there's nothing wrong with them at all. I mean, the key is to find people that you trust. People that you can rely on so that everybody pays out every time. And there's no, something's happened to the cat and the dog and I can't pay this week. Yeah. but again, I think they're a good idea. It's I would do anything but put my money in the bank if I can. Just because, again, they're using yes, they're using our money to do all sorts. They're actually making more money now than they've ever made. Because if you have a bank account now, you'll be lucky if you're getting 0.5%.
Sure.
But the interest they're getting now, when they lend money out, the interest average is about 18%. So they're making more money now than they've ever made. And guess who's losing out? You. Yeah. People stick their money in the bank. I saw somebody not too long ago, and she received some redundancy money. She had £40,000 in a regular bank account. £40,000 just sitting there for years.
Wow.
The balance on her mortgage, which she was paying about 3% on, was about £44,000. I mean, come on. She only had 40-something thousand pounds left on her mortgage, and she had 40K sitting in a bank account, getting minus 0.0000 for it. I'm like, and again, it comes down to that, building your house.
Your house, yes.
She had the foundation, she had the debt, but she got it wrong. It was the wrong way around. I'm like, just clear your mortgage, and then you can start, So again, it's understanding the money. So yes, I don't even know what the question was anymore, but
it was the ajo, the osusu, the
yes. Hey, cash is king. Cash is king.
Okay.
Cash is king.
Thank
all the time.
So much for that. Thank you. Okay, we're just going to take a few more questions. If there's anybody that has any other more questions, or if there's anything that they
I've gone to 7:30, then I've got to run.
That's fine. So if there are more questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and fire away. Don't forget, Sam is the professional here. We are not. We are just the platform. So please, whilst he's here, feel free to, Sam, talk to us a bit about the streams of income, because I think now is a period where people are thinking of, right, what else can I do?
Yeah.
What would you advise? The best strategy, the starting point, because it is a risky thing to do.
It is. I think for me, when I started on this journey, one of the things I wanted to do was something that I was passionate about. So I didn't just want to do something that wouldn't pump my blood in a way. So what am I passionate about? I'm passionate about teaching, empowering. I love people. I can talk for England if you give me the chance to. And so for me, I needed to find something that would work for me and I wouldn't get bored with. So I would encourage you, what do you like doing? What do you enjoy doing? I love empowering people. I love teaching people. But also when I came on board with my business now, I needed the help. I was in so much financial issues. I was in so much debt. And I had goals. I had things that I wanted to achieve that I would never have achieved if I hadn't made some decisions. I mentioned it last week. The insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And I want to encourage you, if you keep doing the same thing, it's time to try something different. But somebody showed me the scripture, and I'd never seen that scripture before, that said, something about, I think it was in Habakkuk, working, but also doing something in the evening. There's one in Deuteronomy that says, you work during the day and then put your hand to something else in the evening, and you don't know which one is going to work. And I think for myself, my job was great. I used to be in the House of Parliament. It was a fantastic job. However, a job, they give you enough to keep you coming back. And a lot of us do enough not to get sacked. There are lots of streams of income out there. Just Google it. Talk to people. Put it on your status. You're looking for extra income. My business, what we do is what I'm doing here. We teach people how money works, how to get money working for them. We give them a plan that gets them from where they are to where they want to be. And we provide financial services. So if you need life insurance, income protection, buildings and contents, there's about 10 streams of income that we have in our business. And we're looking for people. Now, like I said, I'm not here for that, but happy to have a discussion. But there's lots. What do you enjoy doing? If you enjoy something, find a business. There's lots of business. You can sell hair. You can teach music. If you know how to play music, teach music. If you know how to plait hair, plait hair. If you're a good cook, you can start something on the side. There's always people that will need your services. We can never have too many cooks. Never. There's 68 million people in the UK. 68 million. The opportunities out there. You just need to find something that you love, that you enjoy, that you're making a difference to the lives of people. So for me, when I sit down with a client, I know I'm bringing value. I know when I leave that client, they're secure, they're safe, their lives will be a lot better a year or two from now than when I start with them. I've seen people die and they've had to kick the families out of the house because they didn't have protection. So when I sit down with the family and I provide them with protection, I know that family is safe. You get what I'm trying to say? So for me, I love what I do. I am passionate about what I do. Find something that I can see Sandra has got something there that she's passionate about. And I noticed last week she had it up as well last week. Whatever it may be, you know, find something that you enjoy, but find more than 1, 2, 3 streams of income if you can, because then money will always be coming in. Residual income and passive income. Okay? Very different. Passive income, you're leveraging other people's time. Okay, whereby when they earn, you earn. Residual income, you provide the service, and whether you're there or not, they pay the money into your account every single month, every single week. Those are the 2 things I can talk about.
Can I quickly ask a question, Mr. Sam?
Yes, please.
I noticed that you're a Christian and you are obviously using quite a lot of scriptures, which is very good. I just wondered, I'm trying to play the devil's advocate here, but I sometimes need to. I wonder if you could touch on, obviously you talked about people not using their credit. I thought that was really powerful about credit cards and not using your credit card because of the interest and everything you've said about obviously taking money out. I just wondered if you can touch a bit on, I'm not saying all churches, but some churches do ask people to use their credit card to pay their tithes, or even to give in regards to events. And is really the pressure that people are under to do this. I just wonder if you could touch on that a bit in terms of financial freedom.
Okay, this could be controversial.
I know, I did say that I wanted to play the devil's advocate.
Yes, yeah. It's not something I would encourage. It's not something I would support. And I have been in those environments where I have seen it and I have said that is not good. Because credit cards are great. I've got a couple of credit cards, okay? I used them when I flew to St. Vincent a couple of years ago. Half of my flight was paid from the points I got from my credit card, okay? If you know how to use it, great. The challenge, and I see it all the time, is people say, I only took this credit card because I wanted to increase my financial footstep. And then they use it, they spend £200, they expect to pay it back, and then something happens. And a year later, they now owe £500. A year after that, they now owe £2,000. And they didn't learn how to use it. Now, for some organizations that say, use your credit card, I've been to events where they're selling coaching or they're selling training. And they say, this training is £999. Come to the back and you can use your credit card. For me personally, it's wrong. And that goes for organizations and churches. You know, it's an organization that asks people to use their credit card. Personally, I don't agree with it, because those people will have to sit down with that debt for many, many years. And I think for me, one of the things I talk to Christians about is we're not meant to be scraping the barrel. Yeah, we're not meant to be the bottom of the barrel. We're meant to be great. We're meant to be awesome. We're meant to help other people. How can you help other people when you don't have any yourself? Okay, like I said before, I give more now than I ever gave. And that is because I'm thankful that God is blessing me with more. Now, for a lot of people that give out of the empty, it just remains empty. So, Mrs. Ahmed, I don't agree with it. Personally, I think it's wrong, but that's my choice. That's my call. But I think if more people had this education that we're getting here, and they understand the rule of 72, and they understand how much that credit card interest is that they're giving away, they might be giving 100 quid, but that's going to turn to £1,000 in no time. And they're snookered.
Okay. Can I jump in here? Sorry, I'm going to
yes, please.
Say
yes,
something.
Please.
Do you know what, Adebola, that was a really, really pertinent question, because also our our organization has a specific focus on our faith, our culture, our norms. So basically around cultural competence. And I do agree with you that it's using the credit card is not advisable. But I also think, and same as what you're saying, is that if you're not financially competent, then you shouldn't be using the credit card. And when I talk about financial competence, it's the fact that if you use a credit card that you pay off every month at the end of the month, then I believe that you can still use that credit card because you're using it with intelligence, which comes down to your financial intelligence. So I wouldn't rule out completely using your credit card to pay. However, it is with intelligence. So if you're going to pay up at the end of the month, use it as you please because you have a standard that you're not incurring any more interest either which way. However, if you do not have that discipline and financial intelligence and competence, I wouldn't use it. So
yeah, and oops, sorry. And I think that's my point there about if you know how to use it, then you know you're going to clear it at the end of the month. You're not going to incur any charges. It's your money. It's your card. But it's for those people that don't have the knowledge, they just use it. And then at the end of the month, something happens, they can't pay you back. And they don't have an emergency fund, which I said, if you need to all get an emergency fund. You need to start paying into an emergency fund. But they don't have anything like that, which means they're going to get charged interest at the end of the month. They've already paid the money to the church. They're done. So yeah, so you've got to use it wisely. Credit cards are great, but you've got to be wise.
Okay.
Awesome.
But thank you, Ahmed.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, Sister Debola, you managed to sneak in. I didn't get that. I didn't realize it was you until you started speaking. It's okay. You got me this week. Thank you so much for that question, though. It has, I'm very sure there were people sitting on here thinking, well, you know, I use my credit card to pay tithes. So at least you've now received that information, and it's your prerogative what you do with it, you know. Financial education is key in all we do, because the statistics you gave about the suicide was quite frightening. And when you think of the reason behind it, even the relationship, the breakdown of the relationships is usually, or you know, the what surrounded that was finances, and then you also got finances on its own. So you know, it begs the question. You know, we really, really need to sit up and start thinking about our finances. Let's stop burying our heads in the sand. And I speak to myself as well as I sit here. You know, it's very easily done. It's so don't beat yourself up about it. It's very easily done. I think finances can be one of the most overwhelming parts of our lives. When you sit down and, you know, especially in this COVID period, there's so much uncertainty. But guys, please, 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 talk to somebody. You know, it's nice that you've come on the show today. And remember, we've still got 2 more weeks left of financial February. So, you know, please get your questions ready. Where you're having difficulties, you know, you don't have to put your name. You can come on anonymously, but please come on and ask the questions. I always say that there is a reason why people are placed in front of me, and there is a reason why I meet people. Networking for me is everything. And you know, we're a village, we're a family, we're a community, and it's one tell all. So for those of you who are watching today, please tell somebody about what you've heard today, because you could be saving a life. There could be somebody that is thinking tonight, I've had enough, I'm done. If you spread this little message, you know, it's bigger than me receiving even the lottery, because people have won the lottery and squandered it in months. You know, that is not the education we need. We need the financial education and the discipline. So thank you so much for everybody that has come on today. And go ahead. Do you want to say something, Sam?
Yeah, just you mentioned about relationships, and I find myself often actually, apart from being a financial coach, being a marriage counselor, because I talk to husband and wife, and the finances are such a mess, and it causes a lot of challenges. Now, my encouragement to you is, it doesn't matter where you are right now. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. The important thing is, let's deal with it. There is a way forward. It doesn't matter where you are right now, it's where you're going that counts. So I want to encourage you, sit down with your partner, discuss it. There is a way out. There are opportunities out there. Let's sit down. Let's go through it together. We can get there. But before you can do that, you need to recognize it. You need to be honest with yourself and know that it can happen. It's possible for you. It's happened for me, and I'm thankful to God for that. It can happen for you as well. And there's no shame in it, because there's millions of people, 17 people a day. There are millions of people across the country going through the same challenges. So there's no shame in saying, I need help. And everything we discuss is confidential. I am regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. So everything we discuss will remain confidential, and we can help and support you. Okay?
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Sam. Yeah.
Going to jump off?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Sam. We are really, really happy. I think we have just, do we have any questions?
Yeah, so someone asking about investment, but I believe we're going to be addressing that next week.
Yeah.
So we just have to wait.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Sam. Thank you so much. I know you.
Lovely. Thank you so much for having me. Take care. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe.
You all. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow, wow, wow. What a topic. So, guys, the party hasn't finished. You know, we want to hear from you. We want to hear your thoughts on what you have just listened to. Are you going to do your CCMP? Have you done your CCMP? Do you need help with your CCMP? You know, like Sam said, this is not the time for us to bury our heads in the sand. This is not the time. This is the time for us to stand up and say, do you know what? I do need help. And there should never, ever be, and I know some people, everybody's different. Everybody is different. And you never use one brush to paint everybody. But, you know, we are, as an organization, we are saying to you, you know, this is our way of reaching out, offering you the guidance and the support. And this is why we go out of our way to bring in people who understand the rudiments of some of the issues we put out there. So you've listened to Sam, and Sam was probably where some of you are today.
Yeah.
And his testimony is real. So he's not a celebrity. He's somebody like me and you who was stuck in a rut. He sat down and he put a plan in place. What we're asking you today is to put that plan in place, baby steps. You heard him, the 10, 10, 10, 70. You can make it 1, 1, 1, 2, you know, suit it to your lifestyle, because my lifestyle and your lifestyle is not the same. But what we are asking is that you start somewhere, okay? Feel free to drop messages in the chat. If you do need some one-to-one help, put your email in the chat box and we will pick that up for you. You can also go to our page on Facebook. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We will drop our handles in the chat, please. If any of you could help me with that. Drop our handles in the chat. So any of the social media handles. And we are still continuing with Financial February all through to the end of February. The idea is that we need to be out of debt. We want to be out of debt, you know, quickly, but more especially, we want to prevent the youth. The youth are up and coming, okay? We don't want that cycle to continue. So when our children get out of school and go into work, we want them to be financially astute. There are so many things that they don't teach them in the school that they will learn from financially disciplined parents, guardians, the home environment, you know. So this is why we look at it as a very, very, very important month. You know, financial February, we're not playing, and we're hoping, you know, how many of you want to pay off your mortgages? You know, I don't want to be, you know, in my 60s and I'm still, you know, trying to pay off my mortgage. No, I don't want to do that. You know, how many of you have loans, and that each month you're just paying off this loan and it's never ending? You know, you need to sit down with people like Sam, you know, and work this out. Okay. How many of us went and bought a bag last week that we really don't need? I mean, my whatever is full of bags, which is ridiculous. I don't use them, you know. But my mother used to say, you know, you eat with your eyes, and when you eat with your eyes, you know, it's. I'm not going to call it greed, because that might be a bit harsh, but sometimes, you know, that gratification, you think for that period of time, you're happy until the next bill comes through the post. And you remember, oops, I bought a bag last week. We've all done it. I'm not ashamed to say it. I do it, you know. But one day you will have to sit down and say, enough, you know. Set up a plan. You want your children to go to the private school? Start now. You want to pay off your mortgage? Start now. You want to have that business in the next 2 years? Start now. All right? Every day starts a story. But like we said, we will be continuing Financial February. For the next 2 weeks, Sam will be back, and we will have Primrose. Primrose will be back next week, Wednesday. And Primrose is our financial business specialist, and she does obviously insurance. So if you have home insurance, life insurance, income protection, that's the person as well as Sam that you need to speak. Okay.
We'll also be having our accountant. He's actually our accountant, and you know what? If we didn't have him, I don't know what I would do, because keeping up with what the HMRC requires and asks for is unbelievable.
Yeah.
For small businesses, if you haven't, you know, set up a business before, and you're having to do that and having to keep up with requirements, then you need to be listening to a qualified accountant. Small bookkeeping doesn't really help you at this stage. So
and I just add, I was going to jump in after Gaze. How many people know their credit score? How many people have access to their credit records? That is something that's very important for us to do as well, because we don't know what's been held on us. Yes. You know, that credit card you took out 3 years ago where you haven't paid it, that could be the one that's stopping you from getting that loan that you're trying to get. So get your credit score there. Some of them you can get free. There's one called Clear Score. Someone recommended that to me, and it's free. And you can get your credit score. You can map it out. You can see what's going on. You can see what's come off. For example, if you've got a CCJ, you can see when that's paid, when that's been paid up and that's removed from your file. You also see when things are added to your file when you're not even aware that it's been added to your file.
Yeah, I agree with you, Marcia. I've got
very important.
Yeah, I agree with you, Marcia. Sorry, darling. I've got one that updates me every month. So it tells you you've gone up by 10, you've gone down by 15. I'm not advocating what I would tell you, because it's what I use, and it's called Total Money, but that's me. So it tells you every month I'm logging in to see if I paid the par.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you have to be if you want to. It's easy to get into debt in this country, very easy. You know, you miss one bill, miss one payment, miss the other, and before you know it, they start to. It's the annoying thing is that they start to add penalty charges. You know, like you haven't got enough to deal with. Someone's adding £50 penalty charge, £12 penalty charge. Where am I going to get that money from? So I really think that you need to be on par. Your email is very, very useful, because you get them, really, if you don't ignore them, you get a lot of warning to say, you know, this hasn't gone through. I think it takes a lot of discipline, but also a lot of hard work. If you can't, if you can't do the crime and the time?
Yeah.
If you do the crime, you got prepared to pay the time or do the time. Yeah. Something of the sort.
Yeah, something like that.
And Buki has just typed in the chat, it's important to know your credit score as well as what the average is in your area.
Thanks, Buki. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
From the one that I use, it tells me what's the average in my area as well.
Yeah. So that's another thing to look at. And also, you know, years ago when I sat down with, I used to work in the bank and I used to deal with savings. And ideally, we should all have 3 times our monthly income as savings. As far back as 2008, 2009, when they had the Lehman's crash, that wasn't happening as far back as then. You can imagine how many years down the line, plus COVID, plus all the hardships with the retail industry and the hospitality industry, savings is a far way. I think most households have more credit than they have savings. You know, this is the time for us to flip that around. And I think the key tool I picked up today is financial discipline. You know, we can do everything that Sam has said, that once we do not practice financial discipline, we would be like, you know, when you see the rats running on the hamsters in their cage, you're just running and it's a journey to nowhere. So guys, please, 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 you know, let's think about everything we've heard today. It is a bit much, and I'm hoping it's not too overwhelming for some of you, because there are some financial situations out there that are huger than others. But if you listened to Sam, he said he was in a bad place. He sorted it out. So I'm sure we can as well. And don't forget, Saffron is here to offer you guidance and support. We will not offer you financial advice because we are not financial advisors, but we can signpost you, but that is all we can do. So please be in the know that anything that you receive on this platform is merely for educational purposes, okay? We do ask that you do not share your personal information because of confidentiality. We can always speak to you off camera. And we do have a Nigerian audience. I think we've kind of sidelined you today because there have been a lot of terminology that would not necessarily relate to your demography, so we apologize. But the finance, at least you heard of the Osusu, you heard of the Kolo, Ajo, you all do it amazingly. You all do it really, really well. The credit facility, there is a bit of credit now in Nigeria. It's totally different. In Ghana, it's probably totally different for those that are watching around the world. So we apologize because it was, I think a lot of it was based on the UK's, you know, credit system. But finance is finance anywhere in the world. The baseline is still financial discipline and learning to spend what you don't have, and just, you know, that consistency. Yeah. So that's what it's really about. So I hope for those of our viewers who are outside of the UK, I hope you are able to gain some, you know, some knowledge that would be powerful in your financial lives as well. Yeah. And please feel free to share, you know, because it would be nice for us to understand how the financial wheels spin in your side of the world. All right. So thank you so much, everybody that has come on. Auntie Vicky, it's so lovely to see you. And Tama, it's good to see you. We've got a couple of minutes before we sign off, because I know it's dinner time for some of us. So please let us know if you do require some one-to-one, can you please drop your emails in the chat? Okay. And it would be nice when we come on the Zoom, we really would love an interactive session. It's nice to hear from you, you know. Taiwo, I know you're in the house, and Taiwo, if you're there, if you'd like to unmute yourself, you did say something about we talked last week about stocks, and I don't know if are you able to, yeah, that you are. With obviously we can't give advice because we said we don't. It will be just information. But if you're able to throw a bit of information on stocks, if you have, because I know last week you mentioned it, but due to time we couldn't. We've got a couple of minutes before we round up.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked the question. You know, this is a very, very big topic, you know, and I've tried to, exercise some discipline today because there are, just as people, we are very different, you know. I might have a certain style, fashion, or whatever, a certain resilience. The same thing when we talk about finance, there are several schools of thought when it comes to either dealing with a situation financially that one's gotten themselves into, or when it comes to planning for the future. There are several schools of thought which are equally valid. And what's important is that we, as a community, we get a sense, or we're educated in the variety of these, because you don't know which financial pill, if I may use that term, forgive me, would work for a certain individual as opposed to another. It's just like that. I would, I'm not ducking the question. I love to talk about, the financial markets. I absolutely love to talk about the financial markets.
Plus Bitcoin. You can shed some light on Bitcoin as well. If not, don't worry. But I have.
Yes. Well, I will on Bitcoin. I will say this. I can speak about cryptocurrencies in general. First of all, what I'm going to say to anyone that is considering that isn't currently invested in any crypto and that is thinking of doing so is this. First of all, as with any financial asset, whether it's stocks, bonds, whatever, crypto, you only want to put in or go in to the extent that the money you're putting in is risk capital. Therefore, what do I mean by risk capital? It's money that if you lost it, you're not gonna go crazy, overnight because of that. Sorry, I'm on my phone. My camera is at a funny angle, okay. And I've been trying to adjust it. So that's the number one rule. The reason I am so passionate, to the point that I went to do a master's in financial engineering, is this. Everybody wants to invest some money and to make a return. Very few people really get to the chance ever to understand what investments they can make. I'm talking financial products. I'm not talking property now. What investments they can make that they can sort of protect. I mean, we've been talking about all the protections available to us as consumers, income protection, death, life assurance, all these things. Well, if you're in the financial markets, for example, if you said, okay, I don't want to wait 24 years or 48 years or whatever, to use those examples Sam gave, I want returns much sooner, because otherwise, gray hairs and all of that. Then you have to understand what tools are available to you to invest in the financial markets and do so in a way with some degree. There's never going to be absolute protection, but with some degree of protection, because it is there. But this is the thing, that the vast, when I say vast, I mean, well, one trader I met, friend of a friend, who and this is somebody who'd worked in the city and so on, and we got talking. This is actually when I just come back from the States, and he said, "Oh, Tawa, you understand this, you understand that." This is before I even went to do formal studies. He said, "Oh, well, you're one in a million then." I said, "What do you mean?" what upsets me, okay, and the source of my passion on this is that it's almost as if the very financial system of the country in which we live, and by that I mean the UK, is actually undermining the education of the masses. That's why I think I've told you that I've written my MP on this particular topic, and I was very glad to hear when you mentioned the fact that, okay, tonight we have a Nigerian audience and that there could be different things in different countries. I would encourage, obviously, if you live in the UK, it's natural to think within the confines of the geographical borders within which one lives. But the funny thing with finance is that there is no law, there is nothing that binds you to the financial vehicles that are only available within your borders, as long as it's your income, it's your money, you're not owing taxes on it. There are, I mean, I could go for a whole week or even a whole month on this even. So, but just to keep it short, on crypto, I would say you don't want to go in. It's very high risk. It is very high risk, and I'm not going to make any recommendations on any crypto or none, because I think that would be wrong. If you want to ask me what I think about it privately, because I'm aware this is streaming, I'm happy to give some sound reasons behind whatever my thoughts are. But beyond that, everybody is free to I know common people, I know people who've worked for investment banks as well. The jury is out on it. The jury, even amongst the people that know, in the know, the people up there in the highest echelons of this world, the jury is still out on this. And I shared, when I say the jury is still out, at the moment, the state of affairs in cryptocurrencies is that it actually transcends what any regulatory body in the world can actually write the definitive laws and script on right now, So, and that's why remember the phrase first mover advantage? One of the reasons a lot of people have become severely rich off the back of digital currencies is precisely because of that. Because even governments and, all these regulatory bodies haven't got a handle on it, So you can distill from that what you like.
Give me just before we, because we're going to close soon. Yeah. So stocks and shares / Bitcoin.
No, stocks and shares. I think he's put the word out on Bitcoin and
summarize because the person is asking about stocks and Bitcoin. So if you can just give us in a sentence for each, obviously without advising.
Yeah. What I would do is I would personalize it. How's that? So I'm not saying to anybody, I'm saying this is what I would do, or this is what floats my boat.
Exactly.
Okay. So if I had £10,000, I don't have, to invest, if I had, would I put it into crypto that is going through the roof and setting new records, or would I put it into something more traditional, could be stuff? The answer is I would put it into a more traditional stock market instrument. That is the answer.
Okay. Brilliant.
Can you double though if you had £1,000 out of that 10,000 that you wouldn't miss? Can you then double and then put, so see what the market is saying? Would you do that?
You mean in respect of the cryptocurrency?
Yes. If you had the 10,000 and within there you could actually not miss 1,000,
Would
You see,
put the
yeah,
1,000 in the crypto?
let me explain. I'll answer that question in a slightly indirect way, okay?
Considering that Giz gave us 1 minute.
Yes, well, I might stretch it to 2. So every now and then, there's a report that comes on the radio talking about the gambling problem in the UK.
Yes.
Now we're talking the Ladbrokes, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And you know, do you know that we have such a thing called the Gambling Commission? You know. Now,
Yes.
the reason I mention that is that every time this comes on, I think to myself, these people, okay, they want to put money in the slot machine and they want to put £1 and come out with £5. And I think to myself, nobody has told these people that there is a better way to do that. I mean, so when you talk about dabbling, for example, okay, if you want to dabble, there is higher quality dabbling with traditional instruments that that would be what I would say is gives you the tools to better manage your risk.
Yeah.
Than so if you want to dabble, go. You understand? There is a national, there is proper gambling. So at one end you have proper gambling. Well, that is why people say in stock market is gambling. No, it isn't. If you want to gamble, you can go and bet on horses, right? So if you want to dabble, then go to the bookmakers. You understand? Yeah. If you want to dabble, but if you're talking of doing carefully researched, look, I know somebody, and I'm glad talking about reaching out and saying, look, I was part of a club. I think I'm still part of the club, but no clubs are meeting. I met somebody who has made, I think, about 6-figure returns from small investments in almost entirely unknown firms. Somebody, he's not even up to my age, okay? To succeed in this arena, we have to be willing to learn and do things that not everybody does, and quite possibly many people have never even might have never heard of before. But it's out there if you're determined. So the lectures we're getting from Sam are very good in the sense that you have to start from somewhere. Okay, you have to put your house in order. You have to clear the mind. Okay, but also for anyone watching this that may be facing a particular situation, I just want to say, okay, without giving anything away, that there are alternative schools of thought. I'm not taking away from anything that Sam has said. I'm just actually expanding one particular point. And that point is that he said you have to understand the system. You see, most people know the system at the entrance point. Credit score, you need a credit score, you need to get this, to get that. Most people don't know the system at the back end, at the other end, as in maybe something's been derailed somewhere financially. Most people, because there are certain things you will only learn when you've been through the system from the entrance here right through to the end and come out alive,
Exactly.
through a situation that most people...
Sorry, I'm going to stop you there. Hold that. You are coming back next week to complete this. So I don't know what you're going to go and write about. I don't know how you're going to do it, but I want this to, we want you to come back next week and finish this. And it's just because I really want us to finish at 8 o'clock because
I know.
Every time you speak to us, we always learn from you. So, amazing. But thank you for the information you've given us. Very valuable.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to just recognize Ayandi first. Thank you so much for coming on. I believe this is your very first time, and we always like to make you feel very special in the house when you come on for the first time. So thank you. And we hope you will come on again. Buki, it's nice to see you again. You've become a regular. Thanks for keeping your feet under the table. And I hope you're staying safe. Uche, thank you. You've also come on a couple of times. I bless you for that. Thank you so much for coming on. Sister Adebola, I have no words. You unmasked. I didn't even know it was you until you spoke. But I knew the minute that intelligent question came out. I said, my sister's in the house. Thank you
so are you mean we didn't put it? I didn't have intelligent question. She said intelligent question.
No. There's what we call super intelligence, and my sister always says that to me. Leave it. We know ourselves. Sandra, away from Italy. Thank you, Sandra.
Love you loads.
We're so humbled, with your interaction. You're amazing. You're amazing, and really thank you for all you do in Italy as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Marcia. What can I say?
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Mas. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for always being there, standing in for us and with us, our forever sister. And thank you because obviously Sam was your hard work. So thank you because you've enlightened the whole village. Thank you so much. So guys, it's 8 o'clock. I did promise myself 2021, my timekeeping was going to be lit. Have a good evening. Remember, guys, don't forget your CCMP. You must be somewhere. Take your feet out of the sand. If it helps you, last week I did mine.
I did mine.
I've had a good week.
Yes.
It's hard.
Yeah.
No, don't listen. Be under no illusion. When you sit down and write your finances, it's very difficult. But once you start, honestly, and let me not say what's happening to me will happen to you, but I pray that it does. Because
what's CCMP? Sorry.
Oh, sister.
Where were you last week?
Where were you last week?
I just started a new job.
Oh, well,
congratulations.
Congratulations.
Have you? Well done.
Clear, concise,
mental picture.
Clear.
Please feed me in later. Don't worry.
We will.
Look at my WhatsApp status. You'll find it there. Loads.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those of you who were there last week, you understood what Sam said. He repeated it today during the recap. Your clear, concise mental picture. What I've done is I've stuck it. So every time I wake up in the morning, it's in front of me. And guess what? Within a couple of years, the debt is going to go down. Believe you me, it will. Yeah. And it's a nice feeling, guys. I feel light. The money hasn't gone down, but the plan is in place.
It's in place.
And that's what you have to do. You need to start. Don't bury your head. It's been amazing. I love you all. Please stay safe. Have a good evening. And we will be back same time next week, Wednesday, to continue our financial February.
Amen. Okay.
Bye-bye, guys. Have a good one.
Bye. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.